Destro!
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. How goes the morning?
Today it's a bit hot. It's a bit hot. I didn't expect it. I live in a cold region of Osaka, near the airport called Minwo. So when I was leaving home, as you can see, it's like burr. But I got to the Berg, and I realized it's not as cold anymore. And I'm in black. But anyway, I'm Batman, so it's fine.
Men in Black, Batman. Like superhero reference. Have you watched the new
Multiverse of Madness.
You watched
I definitely watched Pet Cemetery. I mean, Multiverse of Madness. I definitely watched it.
I haven't yet, so
Yeah.
please don't spoil it.
Oh, you haven't yet? Okay. Just watch Drag Me to Hell. It'll make so much sense. If you've seen Drag Me to Hell, yeah.
Okay, so a little backstory between Destro and I saw him at church and I've been seeing him around.
Oh, okay.
So I've recently entered this creative space, trying to find my feet, get this wet, and I've been seeing this guy around. Just everywhere. So, photo shoots, church,
Yeah.
can't get rid of him. YouTube, Instagram,
Yeah.
everywhere.
He is God.
And I just thought, why not ask
Yeah.
what's going on?
Like, why are you everywhere, man?
Exactly.
Are you trying to be God?
You feel the same. So we have to start in the beginning, and let's start with a simple question.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Who am I? Who am I? Have you seen that Jackie Chan movie? Brilliant. Brilliant. He died though. That was the saddest part of that movie. But anyway, who am I? I am Dexter Fundanga, popularly known as Destro, or infamously known as Destro, which is literally Dexter in Italian. Not a lot of people know this. They just think it's a stage name because they maybe read the Sigma 6 comics or they follow G.I. Joe and they think Destro must be a stage name. He must be trying to be the cartoon. And I'm like, no. It's my real name. It's my real name. Just translated in Italian. I'm a creative. I'm a poet. I'm a spoken word artist. Yes, there's a difference between poetry and spoken word. A lot of people don't know that either. I'm a hip hop artist as well. I can sing in the shower. And what else do I do? I'm a copywriter. Basically, I'm a creative. I'm a creative. Any form of creativity that calls unto me that I can do, I'm there.
Jack of all trades.
But a master of none.
So you mentioned something very interesting. That there's a difference between spoken word and poetry.
Yes, sir.
And I think a lot of people get tripped up on that difference. So which category do you think you fit more comfortably?
I think I fit more comfortably as a spoken word.
And can you please
So
elaborate?
what is the difference between spoken word and poetry? So poetry mainly follows the rules of English. So if you took literature, you understand what those rules are, the semantics within, or rather the semantics and parameters within which you function with the pen. And under poetry, there's different styles of poetry. There's sonnets, there's epics, and so on and so forth. I think there are like 7 styles of poetry, if I'm not mistaken. But when it comes to spoken word, the recitation doesn't follow any rules. That's the thing. I could basically write a rap and recite it. And because I'm reciting it spoken word, poetry is mainly literature that's put on paper. So when a poet decides to recite their poetry, it now enters the field of spoken word because it's word that was written, but now it's spoken. So that's the simplest difference I can give.
All right. And how did you get into using your voice?
How did I get into using my voice? Doing what I love. I love rapping. Anybody who knows me, catch me on a good day and I'm in headsets, you will hear me rapping. I have concerts on my own as I walk these streets. Some people actually thought I was crazy, and sometimes I feel like it's been a saving grace for me. I could be walking in a dangerous neighborhood and rapping at the top of my voice, and a group of guys will disperse. Not because I look threatening. I'm very friendly. It's why it's in my artist moniker, the friendly neighborhood poet. I'm very friendly. But people just feel threatened, like, oh my God, this guy could be crazy. We don't know what he gonna do. Split. And there have been real-time moments where I'm walking home, people are behind me. I can sense them. I turn around. I see them. They're following me. I keep going, and I start rapping. And to make matters worse, I'm a Pentecostal, so I start praying in tongues. Oh man, these dudes stop and they turn around, and I'm just like, well, praise God for the way that I am. A lot of people will think I'm crazy, but it's been my saving grace. So doing what I love got me into using my voice. I remember this one time I was in the studio, So Good Entertainment, and I was basically doing an intro for a Pilato song. This is like 2010, 2011, over a decade ago. So I'm there doing my thing. James Sakala walks in, and he goes like, your voice can make you money. I'm like, what do you mean? What is that? How? Okay, what you do is when you go home, find any product, send me a voice note. I had a BlackBerry at the time, those days. So I got home, I sent him a bunch of voice notes of me reading in different characters the products that were home. We had Domestos home, we had, we had Boom, we had Mr. Bean, and I would just read the ingredients, all of these other things that are on the product.
Right.
Then I sent them to James. A week later, he gets back to me and says, I need you to go to such and such a place in Long Acres. So I get to this place, mind you, I walked there, and I was living in Charala at the time. This is along Kasama Road. So that was a long walk. But, again, I was in headsets, so the journey didn't feel that long. I was like, I enjoyed my playlist all the way. So I get to this spot, I get to this place, and what happens? They look at me funny, because they're like, number one, who's this kid who's come here with faded track pants, dirty feet, rocking some slides? I wasn't even wearing no socks, and they looked at me like, damn, this boy must be poor. I was. But that was the beginning of great things. I would say great things, because from there, my whole life changed. That's what I can tell you. I can tell you that my whole life changed from there. But that's how I got into using my voice.
Okay. And so, when did you learn that storytelling was more than just a passion, like a calling for you?
Man, I think when I used to draw comics. I used to draw and sell comics.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, there's so much I've done in this lifetime.
Right.
Sometimes when I think about it, I realize how old I am. But yeah, in high school, I used to draw and sell comics. And the only reason why I used to sell them is because at first, every time I would draw, it was for myself. But people would offer to say, I'll give you 5,000. This was before they rebased the kwacha. So 5 kwacha, for millennials not to get confused. So 5 kwacha is how much I would be given for a comic. And the demand became crazy. Sidebar. That was not the only thing I sold, and anything else would be dry snitching on myself. So I'll start with comic books. There was just this impact that I felt from the demand for the stories I told on paper, and for me that evolved. By the time I was getting to 10th grade, I would write poems that they would tell me to recite as a speech, during like special events and so on and so forth. I went to Matero Boys, so when they pick you to give a speech, it's one of two things. You're either really good at speaking, or they want to make fun of you. So, that intricate balance in getting up on stage and saying something, or hitting the right metaphor or punchline and people going crazy, and then dialing back after you're done to come and say, yo, that has changed the way I think, is when I realized that, I should tell stories. This is probably the most impact I'll ever make in my life, is by telling either my story or telling stories that people can relate with.
Okay. And you mentioned going to Matero Boys, so
Yeah.
being at an all boys school, obviously the pack mentality we have.
Oh yeah.
How did you find being a creative in this space?
I was in the pack of creatives.
Was it?
So yeah, I took 2 classes for the duration of the 5 years that I spent in secondary school, music and art, because those were things that I've loved for a long time. So a lot of my friends were into what I was into. So that pack mentality, I wouldn't necessarily say played out badly because these niggas were smart. So it also pushed me to be smart. I was like, my friend Lloyd is smart. My friend Diddy is smart. My friend White AK is smart. I need to be smart, because it's not like these guys were just flopping in class anyhow. On average, they were getting 80s. And if they flop, it's like 60 and we feel bad. We're depressed. 60. My G, you got 60. You know what I'm saying? And that really pushed me. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I stayed away from, pack mentality. I just found my pack, and I stuck with them. We're still very good friends till this day, and we chat very regularly for that matter. I feel like because of how life evolves, a lot of people lose footing and they only remember each other if there's a reunion that's been organized. Like, oh my gosh, man, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? But for us, we know where we are right now in life, and we plan our own reunions. We have like monthly braais and all these other good things. We play FIFA and establish who's the champion. every month, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we just keep the practice up.
So you've never considered yourself an outlier?
I have many times.
Right.
How have I considered myself an outlier in the way that I think? I'd like to think of my thinking as being one of the most unique things to impact people. Not because it's something I noticed, but it's something people have told me. So I wouldn't have just stumbled upon this notion, that would make me boastful, but it's something that people have come to tell me. And I have friends or acquaintances in like different walks of life. I have friends who are Muslim, I have friends who are agnostic, atheist, and friends who are Buddhist, and people who believe in the universe and manifesting and all these affirmations and whatnot. And I also have Christian friends, and I have Christian friends from each denomination. So in and around every discussion that we have, either about life, political views, and so on and so forth, each of them always comes back to tell me, Dex, you just know so much. How do you know so much? And I'm like, I don't know enough. I don't think I know enough. I'm just thinking about what you're relaying, and I'm responding in kind to how I believe, or as far as my perspectives have been formed. Because I believe everyone forms their perspectives according to what they're exposed to, information-wise. It could be, it could be from TV, or it could be from, a book, and so on and so forth. The internet. There's so much information that's flying to us each and every day. So how I've considered myself an outlier is based on how I think and the impact of my thoughts on other people. Especially that I'm not just a creative, expressive person, but also that, I'm able to express myself through very accessible mediums, the internet and so forth.
And would you say you suffered from the arrogance of intellect to being an artist? Because obviously you think differently and express yourself, and obviously when you find comfort in expression, it's very easy to hold yourself above others who find it more difficult to express themselves. Would you say that's an issue you've wrestled with?
I wouldn't say I wrestle with it. I would say it's something I keep in check, because it is very easy to believe the hype, because even when I started doing things like rapping, poetry, drawing art, it was the affirmation of people saying that you are good that I started to believe it. Like, I'm good. 9 times out of 10, I think I suffer imposter syndrome, which is like the direct opposite of like everything you have asked, So imposter syndrome is basically not believing that I deserve the things that I have or can do, not believing that I'm as good as my abilities make me out to be, and so on and so forth. So imposter syndrome is just not feeling deserving of, even just where you walk. Wow, I shouldn't be alive. There's such things, you know, like I wouldn't be alive if, you know, I wasn't da da da. And like you stress so much trying to create an alternate chain of events to justify why you don't deserve to be where you are. You know? So 9 times out of 10, I'm that guy who, and I think it's a syndrome that until recently, I was more or less encouraged to get out of. You know, the whole essence of someone tells you you've done great, and you say, "I know, I try." You know, it's a false humility, but somewhere along our culture lines, we have convinced ourselves that that's what humility looks like. It looks like denying your greatness, when in actuality, it's about appreciating the greatness and appreciating the people who recognize it. You know, it's a form of honor. So when you're honored, you honor as well. So you honor the people who honor you, and you honor God through these things. I mean, for me, who's Christian, I believe the honor has to go back to God.
So how do you feel your socialization has affected your image of yourself? I'm talking from church, school, everything you've been through so far.
Mm-hmm. I guess the biggest effect that it has, more than the effect that it has, the biggest effect it has is the management of persona. Because equivalently, we are different people for different things.
Okay.
When I show up at a dinner, I'm in a suit, I will walk like I'm in a suit. When I show up at a party and I'm dressed for the party, I will walk like I'm there for the party. Even the behavior is different. Now, 9 times out of 10, we were taught that this management of persona is essentially appropriate behavior according to context, when in actuality it is a denial of self in different areas. I will not be ratchet in a place that's considered bougie, you know, because I don't want the bougie people to look at me a certain way. I don't want them to see that I'm ratchet, you know. You simp not because you want to simp, but because there's something you want to get out of simping. You know, not that you are essentially a nice guy, but that you want something. If the availability of that something was never based on your simping, you would not simp. You know, so for me, I would say the effect is the management of persona. To answer the question.
Does that affect your work?
I don't think it does, because I mean, when you show up with a different hat for the specific context, you function within that context. I think that's what people call the separation of professionalism from familiarity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a separation of self? Because you mentioned the different contexts in which you appear. Is there Dexter person, Dexter artist?
Yeah.
So is there an alternate?
I wouldn't say it's an alternate person. Like I said, it's the management of persona. It's me going into different situations differently. Yes. So I like how my friend Moto puts it. Moto Chishe is an amazing mind. I pray everyone gets to meet him. So he puts it this way, you know, so impassionately. He says that you are different people for different things. There is the prime you that controls each and every other you that there is to you. You know, so like when you go and do work and you fail, the one who is going to reprimand the you that has failed is you who's in the prime, in the seat, saying, why did you fail? This is not a good representation of who we are. So therefore go back there and fix the situation. And then you find that you fix the situation, not because a different you has appeared to fix it, but that you corrected yourself to begin with. You know, so it's what weed smokers would call a mind F. You know,
you don't just bring that
a mind F. Yeah.
So
autocomplete will.
So Destro, the spoken word artist, the poet, the rapper, the speechwriter, the copywriter, those are representations of primary text, like you said.
Yes.
And so the work you produce from them isn't necessarily you, but a representation of you.
Yes.
So it's an outlet from which
Yes.
We'll get to experience you. So do you ever think we'll be able to experience before you through your work? Or will you always have something left?
I mean, so long they keep different channels for different outlets of expression,
Right.
it means you will experience me differently.
Okay. And do you think that story will dry up or come to an end?
So long I am living. I mean, the whole purpose of life is to leave a legacy. So it depends on which outlet of expression from me is leaving a lasting impression on legacy.
And what do you think it is right as of now?
As of now, I would say it's me as a spoken word artist. That's the one that has left a lasting impression.
Okay.
Yes, and me as because I started when I started being more expressive.
Correct.
I started as a rapper,
Yep.
you know, but I did a big name feature with my brother Abel Chungu,
Right.
you know, for an album I was working on at the time. This was like 2014, 2015.
Okay.
It made noise, but it didn't do much. It didn't really have an impact. When I started doing poetry, all of a sudden I got invited to go to Bloemfontein, South Africa. Next thing I know, I'm being invited to Kenya. Next thing I know, I'm being invited to Zimbabwe. Next thing I know, I'm being invited to Barbados, where Fenty comes from. You know, so before niggas break their back to buy their girlfriend Fenty, you should first go to Barbados and find out if they wear Fenty.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So that also was more or less like confirmation of what I should be doing. That will open even more doors. You know?
Right.
And I would say it has opened the most doors because I was doing a poem when James Sakala said you should be a voiceover artist.
Right.
You know, so this outlet opened so many other outlets.
It's been
I was performing a poem when Kayambila of Ground Zero said, "Come work with us and be a copywriter." You know, so all of these things were born from being a poet.
Alright.
And me personally, I love being a rapper. I can't lie. I enjoy rap.
So would you have rather been remembered being for a rapper?
I would have rather been a rapper. I mean, it's why I have come back to rapping. I mean, of recent times, I've really been trying to force people to accept me as a rapper. You know, the rap episodes and so on and so forth. That's just me trying to force people to accept that I do more than poetry. But every time I get out there, it's the poet, you know, and that's what I'm known as. And it's something I've also come to accept, like, oh, okay. And then to make matters even more interesting, in poetry circles now I'm considered an old guy, you know, like, oh, that's that guy, you know, like he started from way back when, and I'm just here like, I'm still like at least 3 years shy of 30, you know, so don't make me feel too old. I ain't 30 yet.
Hey, but I mean, you know, in
30
creative
yet.
spaces, people start young.
I guess so, you know, because even when I look at the people who are in the creative spaces now and they're doing so many amazing things,
Yeah.
you know, they come to me for advice and I'm looking at them like, I want to find out how you did it though. Like, you know, but it's humbling and it's honoring at the same time because a lot of current poets come up and say, yo, you inspired me to do poetry. And I'm like, where? I think you always had it. I was just like a bump in the road, but thank you.
Butterfly effect.
I did?
It's the butterfly effect.
Yeah, the butterfly effect, you know. So you keep on keeping on, not because you can't or you can, but because of the impact it leaves with people. So if you're not doing or leaving any impact with people, it's a sign you should stop.
So
I'll
if
stop
you
rapping.
had died today, you'd be remembered as what? Wordsmith extraordinaire?
I think I'll leave that to the people. That would be something interesting. If anything, what I would like to be remembered as is a pioneer for provocative thinking and expression of that provocative thinking. That's what I would like to be remembered as.
I go really deep.
You know what I'm saying? Like when, you know, like if I'm gonna watch everything from the other side, and whoever's gonna give my eulogy should say, "Here lies a guy who used words to make us think deep things." Yeah, that's what I would want. But like I said, I'll leave that up to the people. Because of the many hats I wear, different people will come and say different things. You know, so that'll be interesting.
But all those hats are you.
All those hats is me. You know, it's like how we are all God and God is we.
And does God show up in your work?
What?
Does God show up in your work?
Definitely, all the time. You can't mistake it. Unless you are Jack's confused. There are people who have confused me because people often disassociate intellect from religiosity or religious thought. So oftentimes when you speak from a level playing field of logic, people they know you're atheist. I didn't say that. You know, I'm just trying to give a logical, base upon which I am giving a deliberation of thought or expression and so forth. It doesn't mean I'm what you want me to be. You know,
Right.
you know what I mean? So yeah. I don't think God gave us minds to be separate from Him. He gave us minds so that we freely choose Him. And we see the goodness in all our thinking. And oh snap. Just God name. so that's pretty much the thing there. Yeah.
No, thank you for that. Do you have any words of encouragement or advice for young people or young creators trying to find themselves, trying to find their voice?
Band together, you know. You do more together than trying to push for yourself and say, you know, we're pushing it, say, we're pushing, we're hard ons. Everybody's a hard on, really. I don't know if I said that correctly because it sounds wrong. Everybody is a hard on. You know what I'm saying? I had to separate the weights. Yeah. Everyone is excellent in their own right. And it's when you take this uniqueness and you bring it together that you're able to do more. I use the fingerprint analogy for everything. You know how unique each fingerprint is on your hand, both hands for that matter. But in order for you to clap, you need to bring them together. In order for you to ball up a fist, all your fingers need to come together and agree for a fist to be formed. It's the same way with how each of us as people are all unique and we're uniquely different. It's when we bring those differences together for the purpose of one goal that we are able to achieve it. Like remember, you ball up a fist because all your fingers agree to meet here and you can throw a punch if you want. Or you ball up a fist holding a handlebar for you to lift it, and so on and so forth. You either clap your hands or you put both hands onto a box and you move it. You can't move that box with one hand, even if you tried, even if you went better. It's gonna be hard. You know what I'm saying? So there is so much power in togetherness, and I feel like current culture teaches us or makes isolation so cool that everyone just wants to do it alone or go at it alone and find acceptance in the loneliness, but still want the validation of others for their isolation. And I'm just here like, okay, NF, you know, do you then? So yeah, that's my word of encouragement to everybody that's gonna see this. You know, everybody out there, yeah, I'm pointing at you. You better band together. There is so much great that you can do together. You can do great all by yourself, but you can do greater together. So yeah, that's been me, your friendly neighborhood poet, Destro.
Any shout-outs before we close out?
Alright, cool. Shout out to everybody watching this first and foremost. Shout out to K, the man of culture. You know what I'm saying? You're doing great things. Shout out to everybody out there who's a creative. Believe in your dreams, because no one else will believe them for you. So yeah, that's me. West Side.
Thank you.
Yeah.